She said, "I'm fine," but her eyes screamed otherwise. Have you ever been through that? That moment when every word points in one direction, but something inside you knows there's so much more behind that forced smile? The truth is brutal. For centuries, women have developed a psychological defense system so sophisticated that most men don't even notice it happening right in front of their eyes. It's like trying to read a book in code. The words are there, but the real meaning remains hidden to those who don't understand the language. Imagine discovering that every gesture, every pause in conversation, every change in tone carries precise information about what's really going on in her mind. We're not talking about manipulation or mind games. We're talking about something much deeper and more painful: emotional survival mechanisms built over years of experiences that taught that vulnerability can be dangerous. When a woman says whatever about where you go for dinner, she rarely means it literally. So why doesn't she just say what she wants? The answer will shock you, because at some point in her life, expressing direct desires resulted in rejection, criticism, or conflict. So she learned to communicate through layers, creating an invisible armor that protects her true self. This armor manifests in ways that often go unnoticed. A laugh that's a little too loud when she's nervous. Criticizing other women when she feels insecure about her own appearance. Claiming she doesn't need anyone right after a moment of vulnerability. Each of these reactions is a sign, a clue left by someone who wants to be understood but is afraid of being fully seen. What's even more striking is how these performances have become so automatic that many times they don't even realize they're doing it. It's like breathing, a subconscious process developed to ensure emotional survival in a world that isn't always safe for female authenticity. But here's the first big mystery we're going to unravel. Why do some women build thicker armor than others? The answer isn't related to personality or character, but to specific experiences that shape how they see the world and relationships. There is a consistent pattern in the signals they send. When a woman crosses her arms during a serious conversation, it's not just a casual body position. When she quickly changes the subject after touching on something personal, it's not distraction. When she makes jokes about her own insecurity, it's not just humor. Each of these moments is a window into understanding what's really happening beneath the surface. Society has taught men to accept these performances at face value, without questioning what might be motivating behaviors that seem contradictory or confusing. Women are complicated became a convenient explanation to avoid the work of truly understanding what is being communicated through these layers of protection. But truly intelligent men have realized something revolutionary. When you learn to read these signals with empathy instead of judgment, when you understand that behind every performance is a person trying to protect themselves from something, everything changes. Communication becomes deeper, relationships more authentic, and emotional connection reaches levels most people never experience. The second mystery that needs to be revealed is this: there is a specific moment in every woman's life when she consciously or unconsciously decides she needs this armor. Identifying when and how this happened is the key to understanding all the behaviors that follow. Anger arises when you realize how many relationships could have been different if there had been more mutual understanding. How many unnecessary arguments, how many misunderstandings, how many missed opportunities for genuine connection because both sides were operating with different codes without even realizing it. 3 universal signs reveal when a woman is operating in full protection mode. First, she responds to your questions with other questions, diverting the focus from herself. Second, she uses humor or sarcasm to deflect moments of emotional seriousness. Third, she overgeneralizes specific situations, turning isolated problems into universal issues about relationships or people. Recognizing these patterns isn't about gaining advantage or control. It's about creating a safe space for two people to connect without the barriers that fear and past experiences have built between them. It's about understanding that all of us, men and women, wear different masks, but women's masks tend to be more elaborate due to specific historical and social reasons. If you're starting to recognize these patterns in the women around you and want to learn how to create more authentic connections without breaking down their natural defenses, subscribe to the channel because we're going to dive much deeper into this journey of mutual understanding. Now let's break down what really happens when these armors come into play. There is a system of codes operating that is far more complex than anyone imagines. Every word, every silence, every gesture carries multiple layers of meaning that were developed as emotional survival strategies. Let's start with indirect communication. When she says, "Do whatever you want," it's rarely genuine permission. It's a disguised test to see if you care enough to figure out what she really prefers. Behind this apparent flexibility lies the fear of being rejected if she expresses her true desires. So she places the responsibility of choice on you, keeping herself protected from the possibility of hearing a direct no to her preferences. The third clue that few men catch is in the moments of silence. When an important conversation is interrupted by long pauses, it doesn't mean she has nothing more to say. It means she is internally deciding whether it's safe to reveal the next layer of information. During these silences, an internal battle takes place between the desire to be understood and the instinct for self-protection. Exaggerations are another key piece of this puzzle. Always and never appear disproportionately often in conversations. You never listen to me, or this always happens to me. These absolutes aren't reflections of reality, but amplified expressions of frustrations that weren't adequately processed or communicated before. It's as if the intensity of the words compensates for the difficulty of expressing the real feeling behind the complaint. Notice how moralizing emerges in moments of personal insecurity. A woman struggling with self-esteem issues may become particularly critical of others' behavior. It's not conscious hypocrisy, it's a way to establish external standards that make her feel morally superior when she's feeling vulnerable internally. Displays of extreme independence often appear right after moments of emotional dependence. I don't need anyone quickly follows situations where she felt exposed or needy. It's an automatic course correction, a way to restore emotional balance and maintain a sense of control over her own life. Here we arrive at the fourth fundamental mystery. Why do these strategies intensify in certain relationships and practically disappear in others? The answer is directly connected to the level of emotional security she feels with each specific person. But the first unexpected twist is this. Often, these armors become most visible precisely in the relationships that matter most to her. It seems contradictory, but it makes sense when you understand the logic behind it. The more she cares about someone, the greater the emotional risk involved, and therefore the greater the need for protection. Deep sadness arises when you realize that these women didn't choose to be this way. No one wakes up one day and decides to communicate indirectly or build complex emotional barriers. These patterns developed as adaptive responses to situations where vulnerability resulted in pain, rejection, or manipulation. There is a specific phenomenon that few men recognize: the emotional consistency test. She may create small conflicts or challenging situations not because she wants to fight, but because she needs to check if you will remain present and understanding even when she isn't at her best. It's a way to test the security of the relationship before revealing deeper layers of vulnerability. Periods of sudden distancing usually precede moments of greater intimacy. When she seems to be pulling away for no apparent reason, it often means she is internally preparing for a higher level of emotional closeness. The distancing is a way to process her own feelings and check if the connection is strong enough to survive temporary separation. The performance of the strong, independent woman intensifies precisely when she feels most fragile. It's an automatic compensation, a way to maintain dignity while processing internal vulnerabilities. Recognizing these moments allows you to offer support in a way she can accept without feeling like she's admitting weakness. Seemingly random criticisms about small things are often symptoms of larger issues she can't directly verbalize. When she complains about how you left the towel in the bathroom, she may actually be communicating that she feels undervalued or unheard in more significant aspects of the relationship. Excessive perfectionism in certain areas of life often compensates for insecurities in other areas she considers more important. A woman who becomes obsessive about house cleanliness may be trying to control her external environment because she feels she lacks control over emotional or relational aspects of her life. Now understand this: when she quickly changes mood for no apparent reason, it rarely has to do with you specifically. It's about internal triggers being activated by situations, words, or contexts that recall unresolved past experiences. Her present reaction is being influenced by a previous emotional wound. The seemingly contradictory behavior of seeking attention while simultaneously rejecting it reflects the internal struggle between the desire for connection and the fear of vulnerability. She wants to be seen and understood, but fears that this visibility will result in judgment or abandonment. The moment of absolute truth has arrived. Everything you've learned so far prepares you for this shocking revelation. The most sophisticated armors are built specifically for the men they most want to win over or keep. The greater the emotional interest, the more elaborate the protection mechanisms become. The second devastating twist is that the men who can read these codes most accurately are often those who have developed their own emotional armors. There is an unconscious attunement between people who share similar self-protection strategies, even if expressed in completely different ways. Let's dissect the 18 psychological patterns that reveal everything. First, when she laughs at her own insecurities even before you respond, she is trying to control your reaction in advance. It's as if to say, "I know this is ridiculous, so you don't need to judge me for it." Preventive self-deprecation protects against external criticism. Second pattern, she tests your limits through small irritating behaviors or seemingly unnecessary challenges. It's not sadism, it's a scientific way to map how far she can be herself before encountering rejection. Each test is an attempt to expand the safe territory of the relationship. Third, rhetorical questions multiply when she wants to communicate something important without taking responsibility for a direct statement. "Why do people do this?" can mean "Why did you do this?" The generic question allows her to address specific issues while maintaining an emotional escape route. Fourth devastating pattern, she shares stories about other people going through situations similar to hers, hoping you make the connection without her having to expose herself directly. It's proxy communication, using others' experiences to reveal her own feelings. The fifth pattern will shock you. When she insists it's okay repeatedly, she's not technically lying. She's communicating that she can handle the situation alone, but would very much like you to show enough concern to not take that answer at face value. Sixth, she suddenly becomes interested in irrelevant details when important conversations approach emotionally risky territory. Talking about the color of the wall or the weather isn't distraction. It's a strategic pause to internally process whether it's safe to continue. Seventh pattern, the timing of personal revelations is no coincidence. She shares vulnerable information at moments when you're emotionally available but physically occupied, driving, cooking, working. The parallel activity reduces the intensity of the moment and provides distraction if the reaction isn't as expected. Eighth, she minimizes her own achievements while amplifying the accomplishments of others. It's not genuine modesty, it's protection against external envy and a way to maintain harmonious relationships by avoiding competitive tension. Ninth crucial pattern, when she asks your opinion about something she has already decided, she is seeking validation for a choice that makes her insecure. She doesn't want advice, she wants confirmation that her decision isn't stupid or wrong. 10th, she dramatizes small problems when larger problems are happening behind the scenes. It's safer to get emotional about controllable issues than to confront the things that truly haunt her. 11th pattern, sudden topic changes during important discussions don't indicate disinterest. They indicate emotional overload. She needs a mental break before continuing to process intense information or feelings. 12th, she collects information about you through seemingly casual questions spread over time. It's not paranoid investigation, it's building an emotional map to help her navigate the relationship with a lower risk of conflict. 13th devastating pattern, when she complains about other women doing things she wishes she could do, she's expressing envy of those who have the courage for behaviors she censors in herself. Anger erupts when you understand the 14th pattern. She sabotages relationships that are becoming too important because growing vulnerability triggers internal alarm systems that interpret excessive closeness as imminent danger. 15th, she offers solutions to problems you didn't ask help with as a way to demonstrate value in the relationship. It's not an attempt at control, it's proactive contribution based on the fear of becoming unnecessary. 16th pattern, she holds onto small resentments for long periods because confronting each issue directly feels too risky. She prefers to accumulate evidence of incompatibility rather than risk conflicts that could expose her real needs. 17th, when she excessively praises others in your presence, she is often testing whether you will defend her value or allow unfavorable comparisons. And finally, the 18th pattern that changes everything. She develops minor physical symptoms, headaches, fatigue, stomach problems, during periods of unresolved emotional tension. The body manifests what the mind cannot process verbally. Now you have the complete map. Every seemingly inexplicable behavior has an internal logic based on experiences that taught her that total authenticity can be dangerous. The point isn't to break down these defenses, but to recognize them with compassion and create safe spaces where they can be gradually let down. The complete transformation happens when you understand that reading a woman like a book doesn't mean deciphering codes to gain an advantage. It means recognizing the whole person behind the emotional survival strategies she has developed. Each pattern we identify is not a weakness to exploit, but a wound to respect. True masculine intelligence is not in breaking down women's defenses through force or manipulation. It is in creating environments so emotionally safe that these defenses become unnecessary. When a woman feels she can be completely authentic without risk of judgment, rejection, or abandonment, the armors begin to naturally dissolve. This requires a revolution in the way men approach relationships. Instead of getting frustrated with indirect communication, learn to translate without demanding a translation. When she says whatever, respond by showing that her preferences matter. I'd like to choose something you really enjoy. Can you give me some options that would make you happy? When she uses long silences, don't pressure her for immediate answers. Offer presence without urgency. You don't need to decide right now. I'll be here when you're ready to talk about it. This patience communicates safety and allows her to process internally without feeling pressured. In the face of emotional exaggerations with always and never, acknowledge the feeling behind the inaccurate words. I can see that you're feeling really frustrated about this. Can you help me understand what's truly bothering you? Validate the emotion without debating the literal accuracy of the words. When moralizing arises during her moments of insecurity, avoid defensive counterattacks. Instead, identify the underlying vulnerability. It seems like this is something that really worries you. Do you want to talk about what's making you uncomfortable? Turn criticisms into opportunities for connection. Displays of extreme independence require a paradoxical response. Honor the independence while offering support. I admire your strength to handle everything on your own. And I want you to know you don't have to prove anything to me. I'll be here if you want company, no pressure. This dissolves the need to prove self-sufficiency. Here's the answer to all the mysteries we established. Armors vary from relationship to relationship because each person represents a different level of emotional risk based on past experiences and present signals that she interprets consciously or unconsciously. You may remind her of someone who hurt her, or represent something she's always wanted but fears losing. The most powerful strategy is anticipatory validation. Even before she feels the need to defend herself, demonstrate acceptance of all aspects of her personality. I love it when you get excited about things, even when others think it's exaggerated. This removes the need to modulate natural behaviors. Create rituals of emotional safety. Establish regular moments where vulnerability is explicitly welcome. This is our time to talk about anything without judgment, solutions, or advice, unless you ask for it. Having designated spaces for authenticity facilitates the gradual process of opening up. Preventive communication eliminates many unconscious tests. Communicate your intentions before she has to guess. I'm going to stay quiet for a few minutes because I need to process what you said, but I want you to know I'm still here and interested in the conversation. This avoids negative interpretations of your silences. Recognize and name the patterns when you observe them, but without an accusatory tone. I notice that you always apologize before sharing your opinions. Your ideas are valuable to me. You don't need to apologize for having them. This develops mutual awareness of automatic patterns. A compassionate response to emotional tests transforms conflicts into connections. When she creates small conflicts to test your consistency, respond to the real emotional need. I feel like you're checking if I'll stay present even when things get difficult. The answer is yes. Can we talk about what's making you feel insecure about this? Develop a shared language for moments of vulnerability. Create codes that allow her to communicate needs without full exposure. She can say, I need a level 2 hug when she wants affection without questions, or I'm in turtle mode when she needs to retreat temporarily without you interpreting it as rejection. Strategic patience with her timing is essential. Women often need time to process before sharing. Respect these internal rhythms without pressure. When you're ready to talk about it, I'll be here. There's no rush on my part. This removes the anxiety of emotional performance. Celebrate small openings without making a big production out of them. When she shares something vulnerable, receive it naturally. Thank you for telling me this. It means a lot that you trust me. Overly dramatic reactions can make her regret opening up. The powerful moral lesson emerges here. Authentic relationships are not about decoding secret codes or winning psychological games. They are about two people creating a safe space where both can exist fully without masks. When you stop trying to break down her defenses and start building bridges over them, everything changes. True connection happens when she realizes she can be difficult, complicated, imperfect, and vulnerable in your presence without losing your love, respect, or interest. When you consistently show that her armors are unnecessary with you, she gradually finds the courage to set them aside. Truly intelligent men understand that the ultimate goal is not to read women like books, but to create relationships where neither of you needs to hide important chapters of your story. It's about building real intimacy based on mutual acceptance, not performances that both feel obliged to maintain. The journey of mutual understanding never really ends. People change, grow, and develop new layers of complexity. Stay curious about who she is becoming, not just who she was when you met. If this content has transformed your perspective on relationships and communication, subscribe to the channel to continue exploring the nuances of authentic human connection.